Hello, welcome to the discussion of document 1 of the March 2022 APC. So here we are looking at the Limpros group. We've just joined in as the newly qualified chartered accountant, and our role is senior financial assistant. So as I said, the first thing is to embrace the role. I'm a senior financial assistant. So let's go for it. So this is an email that I'm receiving from Susan. At this point, I don't know who is Susan. And I see that there is a Jerry that has been CC'd. But the subject of the email is what? It is welcome. And it also includes an annexure for the Limpros group background information. All right. So we are told that welcome on your first day at Limpros Ltd. We just call it Limpros internally. All right, cool. We are excited to have you join the finance team. Okay, so remember, everything has to be contextualized. So we are reading quite carefully and being mindful so that we are really going to embrace ourselves in this new role of senior financial assistant. You will be reporting to me. Who are you? We are still to find out. And will act as my right hand within the financing team. I'm assuming that this Susan is the CFO because she is saying that she will be reporting to her in the finance team. I will ask you to compile budgets. Is that a trigger? Assist in the preparation of the annual financial statements. Another trigger. Advise on strategic initiatives and consider funding option. So this, remember that we are dealing with examiners. Examiners in this story, they play mini God because they know how the story is going to end. And what we then need to be mindful of is that we need to take every hint and guidance as something that will help us all unravel later on. So now to analyze what Susan has said to us. She said that you will compile budgets. What budgets is she talking about? Is she hinting to me that they will be, maybe let's do what? Let's talk about the budgets that I'll expect. So they could be a capital budget. So that might be an NPV. They could be a cash budget. They could be, what do you call this again? An income statement budget, as well as what? As an SFP. So there could be some forecasting that needs to be done. And I say, all right, I'm happy to assist with that. And the question is, should I start doing extensive work on this, or should I just wait for the other documents to really explore what is installed in this particular case? So I keep it there for now, and I say that there could be budgets to prepare. And you will be expected to assist in the preparation of financial statements. So I'm not preparing them, I'm just assisting. So what do the financial statements comprise of? So they comprise of, as we know, P&L, SFP, SCE, as well as what? As well as statement of cash flows. So she is saying that I'll be assisting with the preparation. So it could be that this, or it is essentially an accounting trigger, but there's very little to work with. But I just know that accounting is something that is part of the APC. So I'm not surprised to hear that there will be things related to what? To accounting. Then she said that I'll also ask you to advise on the strategic initiatives. The strategic initiatives, she's saying to me that there is going to be an RSMG issue. And remember, with the RSMG issue, it could be an acquisition, it could be a disposal, it could be an organic growth kind of a strategy where we are thinking about NPV, launching a new product, and so on. So that is what I am mindful of. And also to consider finding funding option. And she is saying to me that I need to be mindful of sources of what? Of source of financing. And linked to that, they could be cost of capital. And I was like, Susan, I'm excited to be here. It sounds like this is going to be a nice and interesting appointment for me. So I have started to really imagine my role, and I'm starting to really embrace it and getting excited here. So let's go. Limpros was founded in 1985. Sure. It is a really dated company, and I'm thinking that if this then eventually becomes an issue of strategic consideration, an issue where I need to consider the strengths, weaknesses of this particular company, I am coming to understand that this is a well-established organization because it has been around for more than 30 years. 30 years. Okay. Then they say that, and is today a significant player in the private school market in South Africa. So before then, they had not clarified what we do, but now they have clarified that we are a significant player in what? In the South African private school market. Then I start to think about who else is in this market again? Who else do I know that is in this market? And on top of my mind, I'm thinking about AdverTech. And private school, maybe let me take a step back to say, what is private school? So private school, I'm thinking that this is anything from ECD to grade 12. When I talk about ECD, that's early childhood development, and this is your pre-primary kind of education. So that is what I am thinking and expecting right there. And if then that's the case, I'm thinking about the likes of AdverTech, I'm thinking about the likes of Curo and other private brands. So the reason I'm thinking about these two is because they are listed, but I should not be tempted to say, now that I'm seeing Curo and AdverTech, I'm jumping in. I still want to see the context, because I can imagine at this point that the financial statement or the integrated report of Curo is so large, and that of AdverTech. I mean, I stay in Centurion, and just in Centurion alone, AdverTech has got 3 schools around me. And I'm thinking that that's just an area of less than 15-kilometer radius where there are these schools that I'm talking about. So it must be a big company. And I don't want to risk my sanity by now going to explore before I understand what are the issues that are coming out from the document 1 and that I need to follow up on. All right. Then the group has various tertiary education brands as well. And I was like, oh, this is interesting. This was the former Curo. Because if you remember, Curo started as what? As also a private school, developed and had tertiary education brands, and eventually split into Stadio, and now the Stadio and Curo. So now I'm thinking that, all right, that is something to note here. And I'll then say the tertiary brands in South Africa, I'm thinking about Stadio. I note it, or think Stadio, this is a listed entity. Again, I'm not ready to jump out. I'm just noting this. Today, we have 25 schools operating across South Africa and more than 8,200 learners that are enrolled in our schools. So this is giving me a relative size. So a relative size of the schools, of the what? Of the Limpros group. Okay. And now, why am I saying a relative size? Because I want to compare this with the likes of Advertech as well as Curo. And as my initial belief is that this is smaller. But now I said that there are questions that one will need to have that they will then need to confirm. So I would like to confirm, how does this compare to what? How does this compare to the listed brands? And why will I want to know this? Because I should not just be all about interested in knowing. I should then be mindful of its ability to compete with what? To compete with these listed brands. I should be mindful of whether it will be able to weather challenges such as what? Such as COVID-19, a pandemic. And I should be mindful as well in terms of if there is evaluation to be done and an earnings-based multiple approach is to be used. This could be a key consideration. And also, why would we want evaluation? Could there be a possible listing? So I'm just playing with ideas here on where this information like this will then be useful. The schools include pre-primary, again, that ECD that I was talking about, primary and high schools. So I was like, it's typical of a Curo as well. So I note it and I'm getting excited in terms of something that looks familiar to me. These schools are branded as either Limpros or Meta. And I was like, multi-branding approach. Okay, multi-branding approach. Why though? Why is it the case? Why is it the case? Something to explore. And I will want you then to go and ask this about this question about the other listed brands. And in my initial research, just a high-level research, I then discovered that Curo, and when I say high-level research, where am I getting it? I'm getting this high-level research from annual presentations, not annual reports. What is the difference between the two? An annual presentation is a presentation on the entity's performance. And I've not personally gone through any of the annual reports of Curo. But based on what I've seen in these compact-sized annual presentations, or annual results presentations, rather, I think that's the full name, I've seen that Curo has got different brands as well. And for them, it is a matter of clarifying the target market. In other words, there are Curo brands that target the high end, and also some that are referred to as low fees schools. So I'm wondering if Meta has got a similar structure. But I'm also wondering still, what is the benefit of that? So if I'm to go out, I need to have these questions answered. And how important these questions will eventually be might be dependent on how these issues are further explored. Maybe if they are not further explored, I can consider it to be light, but if they are further explored, I need to make sure that maybe when it comes to these strategic objectives or initiatives, it could be just around strategies around branding, strategies around closing some schools that I need to say, hold on. If you then close the meta schools, these are resilient and in this particular period, and in this one, they might not be so good to have in our portfolio, and so on and so on. So I want to understand what is the advantage of having different brands when we are the same school or fall under the same group rather. The tertiary division has 11 different campuses, all right? Delivering various post-high school certificate and diploma programs in fields such as digital marketing, brand management, project management, hospitality and service management, public sector management, and data science. And I'm curious that the examiners listed all this specifically down. Could then be a situation where there might be some synergies, and I just need to be mindful of the product offering. So I just then need to what? To note that the service offering of the Limpros group from a tertiary perspective has got this. So these are program or service offerings. Noted. Many of these courses are accredited by the South African Department of Higher Education and Training. So that is now helping me to understand the legal framework. And they just kept it there. And now I'm still curious, why was the detail important? I leave it. 2020 was a tough year for most, and we were not spared the consequences of COVID-19 lockdowns. So they are now clarifying that they were also subjected to the negative economic effects of COVID-19. So 2020 was a tough year, and we were not spared. So noted, I note it, so I just then highlight it in my yellow. And I appreciate that now when I'm going to read the numbers, I expect the numbers to be under pressure. So I expect the financial performance to have declined. Then it was difficult to navigate the stop-start of school and campus closure and reopenings. Fair enough. Fortunately, we were able to move rapidly to online. So I understand that there are two interesting things with this statement. There is the Limpros agility or ability to adapt to evolving landscape. And what else is there? Then there's also an offering in its portfolio, online offering in its portfolio that includes online learning. Why so? Because I've also come to understand that online learning is something that parents have come to adopted for their young kids. And that is where we also heard of the likes of UCT Online High School. And I'm thinking that therefore having an online learning kind of offering, it's ideal with what we are seeing happening. So this is all starting to be very interesting to me. But how interesting, I explore further. Although this is not a strength of Limpros as yet. So let me highlight this. And I note this, and I'm tempted to also underline to say that although this is not a strength of Limpros yet, but what is the board's thinking? Is the board interested on making this part of its core competencies? So what is the desire of the board of directors? Why? Because this might motivate further developing the organization, the online learning platform. So we note this. Then we read further and we'll then do what? Then we read further and we are told that certain operations such as pre-primary schools were not able to operate online during lockdowns. Things improved in 2021 though, as we all learned how to live with the lockdowns. So we then have a considerations to say that online learning, as much as it is a growth area, it is not appropriate for what? For pre-primary. Remember, pre-primary are really kids, sometimes as young as, say, 18 months, where parents then bring them in order to to be looked after, and also about then from there on 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think up to 5. So that is what we are talking about. And you can imagine, especially for those of you that might have kids and had to also experience being a parent in a COVID-19 environment. So you will understand what they meant, because kids are not able to focus as much, they can't do as much, and being a parent to then be supporting is something that is quite difficult. So these are some of the issues that are then being raised by Susan to us. But we are then saying, Susan, we completely understand, we are with you. I have attached some PowerPoint slides that outline our vision and strategy. Our vision and strategy, as well as operational and financial information. It's a school. What kind of operational information do we expect? We expect operational information as to the number of students, as to, yeah, that's one of the key metrics, maybe the number of schools that they have, maybe the number of sports, the number of the pass rates, the things that when you looking for a school for a child, you probably look to. That's what I'm expecting from an operational perspective. Financial, I'm thinking about the tuition fees and so on. So as I was saying, that from a financial perspective, I'm thinking about information about the fees, the information about the profit, information about bad debts, and also the capital structure. So that's what I'm expecting. From a vision, it will be if some of the ideas that they've already mentioned here, they want to further develop, or maybe what is their target with regards to getting more students enrolled, where do they want to take online, and if they want to develop further programs. So a number of things that I'm now expecting to see in the background information. We use the slides for orientation purposes for new staff members and non-executive non-executive directors. And then they are also useful for planning purposes and biannual strategy sessions. Then that is the context. Now let's look at those slides.